Hey everybody, Jonathan here. It's been a week, which means it's time for more Audio Kitchen live stream.
Yay!
Yay! Tonight, extra special, we are doing the perfectly cooked pan-seared steak and baby potatoes. It turns out that with an Abio nonstick skillet, you can actually get the perfect sear on a steak, which you cannot do with most nonstick skillets, because when you put a cold piece of meat or protein into a thin, cheap aluminum pan, it makes the pan cold. It turns your steak or your protein into mush, and it's no good. Abio pan, however, perfect for searing steak. If you don't have one yet, AbioKitchen.com, go check it out. Before we get started, though, because I want to...
Is that the small or big, though?
Oh, this is the large nonstick skillet. We're going to be using the large nonstick skillet for our steak demonstration tonight, but the small one would work too. Before we get started, though, because I imagine we need to give people a couple minutes here to join us.
We have a crowd already.
We have a crowd already? Oh my gosh. Well, I want to show off what I've been doing the rest of the day, aside from working hard, of course. And that is, look at this. Look at this. I'm bringing it over, if I can pick it up, if it's not too hot.
Maybe you should use some...
Look at that. That is a beautiful homemade chicken stock. That started as a full roast chicken that we did earlier, and we had that for lunch. We'll be showing you all how to do roast chicken in the next few weeks. That's coming. There will be a video on YouTube, Abio's YouTube page. Search for us there. That chicken then got broken up into the bones. The bones went into the stock pot with a whole onion quartered, a whole carrot cut into big pieces, some fresh parsley from our garden. Not exactly a gardener, but we do have a few things outside that are just beginning to grow, and that's one of them. So parsley, salt, pepper, and celery. I think that's the only thing I'm missing.
Is that an Abio pot?
That is an Abio stock pot.
Wow.
Abio stock pot. Perfect for making chicken stock, turns out.
Wow.
I know.
How many cups of chicken stock would you say that is?
I would say that is probably somewhere like 30 cups of chicken stock.
30 cups of chicken stock?
More or less. I don't know. You think less. I can't do the whole quart trend.
How big is that one?
What do we say? 6 quarts? Eric Wall, help me out here.
Eric is not tuned in.
Oh, well, that's not helpful.
Okay.
We'll post it afterwards. Anyway, tonight we're doing steak, which this beautiful piece of ribeye needs to be cooked beautifully. And,
I have a question.
Yeah, you have a question.
What makes ribeye ribeye? Like, how did you select ribeye?
Wow.
From all the different types of meat?
Good question, indeed. I personally am a fan of ribeye, which is just like a New York strip or a filet or ribeye or top sirloin. They're all just different cuts off the cow. And I like ribeye because it has lots of marbling in it, which means it has lots of little slivers of nice fat. And that might sound gross, but it actually makes the steak really, really, really delicious. So if you like your steak moist, then ribeye is a great choice. If you like the very, very tender, lean version of beef, then you probably want to go with a filet, because the fillets tend to be a lot leaner than ribeyes.
So you would just get either one of those two? Would be like your go-tos? My
favorites are ribeye, New York strip, and then maybe filet.
But can you sear all of those on an Abio pan?
You can sear all of them on an Abio large nonstick skillet. All of them. No problem.
Crazy.
It's great. I know, it's crazy. Like, who would have thought? So there's going to be steak, there's going to be baby potatoes, and then there's going to be a little sauce that we're going to make for the steak when we're all done to wrap it up. So before we get started here, we need to heat up our nonstick skillet as always. The steak is the first thing we're going to start cooking because it is going to take the longest. So that is going on medium-high heat. To begin with, We're gonna sear in grapeseed oil, and then we're gonna finish it, baste it with butter, rosemary, and garlic. I'm gonna show you that technique, super easy to do in the Abio nonstick. Grapeseed oil, great choice for searing, really high temp, really high smoke point. It doesn't burn as quickly as olive oil does, so if you're cooking something that's really hot or on high heat, this is a great place to start. See, I have GS for grapeseed oil because these look nothing alike, but yet for some reason I chose to label one of them with the Sharpie. Who knows? Okay, so grapeseed oil is going in. There's a couple tablespoons there. We want to get this thing nice and hot. If you guys remember from a couple weeks ago, the way to know if your pan is hot enough is, one, you can put your hand over it really close to the surface and potentially burn yourself, which is cool. We can also do the water droplet test. You're shaking your head like, no, that's not cool. That's jokes. Jokes? Not really. Not good jokes.
I see you do it all the time, so it doesn't seem so much like a joke.
Well, the other way is this water droplet test. We drop a few little speckles of water in there, and if they fire up, then that's how we know our oil's hot.
Dramatic, so I like that one.
You like the drama?
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that can be my thing, like throwing water in a hot pan. No? Not that exciting. All right. No seasoning going on the steak. No salt, no pepper, nothing. I'm going to do all that at the end to taste. Plus, there's going to be butter, garlic, and other things. Steak goes in.
So is that how you got it at the store?
Is that how I got it at the store?
Cut it,
I have done nothing except I've left it out of the fridge for the last hour because I want it to come to room temperature because it will cook more evenly. You can cook it directly out of the fridge, but then what happens is the outside, the top and the bottom are going to cook a lot faster than the inside. And in order to get that internal temp to a safe 135 degrees or so for a steak, that then you have to cook it too long for the outsides, and your outsides get overcooked.
So pro tip, leave it on the counter.
Leave it on the counter, let it come to room temperature before you throw it in the pan. Then, once you put it in the pan, next pro tip number 2 for the night, don't touch it! Don't touch it! You know, everybody like puts the food in the pan and then they immediately want to like move it around and poke at it.
Cooking, right?
No! Don't touch it! It's not cooking. Cooking is letting it sit, because the longer it sits in one place, the better it's going to develop a nice crust, which is exactly what you want on a beautiful piece of steak. That went in around 7:05. This is going to cook 4 minutes on this side before we flip it. And maybe we'll even use a thermometer tonight to make sure that we get it to temperature. But we can also look at the side and kind of do what we did with the chicken thighs and make sure that it's cooked that way too. I'm going to wait on the potatoes because they don't need quite as long to cook. But I do want to introduce us to the sauce that we're going to make for the steak. So let's move these items out of the way for a quick second and show you one of my favorite things to put on steak. Like, if not my favorite thing in the entire world, is chimichurri. I love chimichurri. Chimichurri, not fancy. Chimichurri is parsley from the garden. From the garden.
Wow.
Dried oregano, salt, pepper, chilies, garlic, vinegar, and olive oil.
You should show that camera too.
I should. Oregano, salt, pepper, chilies, vinegar, garlic, and olive oil. And the best part is that I've done most of the work here. Oh, this is getting hot, so we're going to turn it down just a little bit. So the garlic is going to go in to the olive oil. The vinegar is going to go into the olive oil. The oregano, salt, pepper, and chilies are going in to the olive oil. And what is missing, of course, is just the parsley. Parsley. You bunch it up with your hands, like with your claw, and then just run your knife down it. You can get a really, really, really fine dice or chop on the first cut. And then you don't have to run back and forth over it too much. Because you do want your parsley cut into very, very, very small pieces for this delicious chimichurri so that it all mixes together nicely. And it's also good that we're doing this ahead of time because This is usually better if you let these flavors kind of sit together for a second in the pan. I'm going to check on our steak here. Pause for station identification. I'm seeing all this smoke around here. Probably going to set off the fire alarm. Need to turn on the fan, except then no one will be able to hear us. That was the light. Let's check on the other side. Oh yeah, yes, it's beautiful, and it is perfect timing.
Wow.
Perfect crust on that steak. Let me turn the light on. Let me turn the heat down just a little bit because we need it to cook through. So I turned the heat down just a little bit. But look at that crust.
Wow.
And I'm going to go open the door so we don't set off the fire alarm. Hold, please. Too hot in the kitchen. Okay. That needs about 3 more minutes, around 7:13 p.m. We're going to poke it with our thermometer. Let's go back to doing our parsley here. Chop, 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 chop. Running the knife through this a couple of times. I'm sure that if there's any pro chefs out there watching this, I can think of a couple who may not be watching this. They would give me a better way to do this. But this is the only way that I know how, so here we go. Just run the knife through it, bunch it up, run the knife through it again.
The trick is to get it as fine as possible.
It doesn't need to be a pulp, but we do want it to be pretty fine for the chimichurri because we want it all to mix together really nicely. So that's a pretty good consistency right there, actually. That'll work. All right. See that? That's going in the bowl with the oil. We're going to give that a little mix here. And this now should look very familiar to what you could see at a really nice high-end steak restaurant. Parsley, oil, garlic, chili, salt, pepper, delicious. Let's have a taste before I give it the thumbs up. Thumbs up. Really, like thumbs up. Okay. Steak's almost done. What do we want to do with a steak that's almost done? Totally optional. We're going to baste it. Ooh, I just grabbed it with butter. We're going to baste it. We're going to put more butter in the pan, along with...
Like a lot of butter.
But we're not actually going to eat all the butter. We're just using the butter to baste the steak and keep it nice and moist and delicious. Garlic directly into the pan. Rosemary sprigs directly into the pan. This makes a gorgeous sauce. I need a spoon, preferably a large one, or a small one, can work. And with this sauce, we're going to spread it back over the steak. My what? I could use one of those spoons. That's a bigger spoon, you're right. How about this spoon, perhaps? There's a good looking spoon right here.
Great.
Oh, over the steak, butter, garlic, rosemary, delicious. This is going to be a 10 out of 10 prime ribeye. Okay. 7:13 now. We've been on for about 8 minutes here. That was about a 1-inch thick steak, so it's time for me to prod it and see where we're at temperature-wise. I want to make sure I cook this correctly. I want it to be about 125, 130 degrees because it's going to continue to cook when I take it off and I put it on the cutting board. We are not there yet. We're at 118, 117, 114. Let's give it 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. And then we'll take it off. Bring the heat back up a little bit. Do a little more basting. A little more basting. More. Okay. While that's finishing, I want to talk about these potatoes for a second because this is the big step that we got to do at the end. We're taking the steak off. We're going to let it rest for like at least 5 minutes because we want all the cells that released all their juices in the steak to suck those juices back up as the steak cools, which is going to make it really, really good when we slice into it. I have boiled these potatoes already for about 7 minutes. The reason why I did that is because I want them to be about like fairly forkable soft. And the reason for that is because I'm going to sear them now on high heat over the stove so that the outside gets really crispy. And what we're going to end up with are amazing potatoes that are super crispy on the outside and creamy and fluffy on the inside. And it's very hard to get that combination unless you bake the potatoes ahead of time before you pan fry them or boil them. Either way works. I like boiling just because it keeps it all here on top of the stove. And of course, we have to use audio cookware for everything, but this works.
We have a question.
Question, go.
How are you cooking the steak? Is it rare or medium rare or what?
Medium rare. It's going to be medium rare.
Is that a temperature thing?
That is a temperature thing. If we successfully get this thing to 130 degrees, 125, 130 degrees, before we take it off, and then it sits for 3 to 5 minutes, when we cut into it, it should be red in the middle on the inside, but not purple, not blood red. So we'll see how we do. I know this is cheating, but just get a thermometer. It just makes it easier, you know? I think we're just about there. Yep, just about there. So let's go ahead and start this pan, and then I'll move it over here. And in this pan, we're going to do some olive oil for the potatoes. And start to heat that up. And we're also going to do some olive oil directly into the bowl that has the potatoes. Like so. Salt. Pepper. And before I go on, let's take the steak off. Oh yeah. Just bring that over here for a moment. It's gonna be beautiful, guys. That's off now. We can actually have a conversation. It's not so loud anymore.
We have a question.
Question?
What are some good non-meat alternatives to use the chimichurri with?
Oh my gosh. I like chimichurri with all proteins, which was kind of not the question. But
that's not the question.
I have to think about it. I'm throwing it back to the audience. What would our people out there put chimichurri on? I think it would be good. Oh, eggplant, sweet potato, other types of squash. I think anything that's like, I guess you could even put it on fried tofu. Like, it'd be really good on that too. You don't like fried tofu. Yeah, you're anti-tofu. That's going to be good. So, okay, so we've got salt, pepper, oil on our little baby potatoes here, which I'm mixing around.
Someone's suggesting cauliflower steaks.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
That's
great idea.
That's yeah, that's right. We've had that before. Turns out. Yeah. People don't know. Do you remember?
Nope.
You don't remember when we had cauliflower steaks? Come on. This is important.
Was it our first date?
It was our first date.
Oh, wow.
All right. Special ingredient going on these fingerling potatoes. This is smoked pimenton paprika. Wow. It's like a tongue full. But these guys are awesome. Burlap and Barrel. They make single origin spices. I really like them. They were nice enough to send us some stuff. Their paprika is absolutely delicious. Paprika is the one thing that you may not think about using on potatoes, but it actually brings out delicious flavor in vegetables, in all vegetables, and I love it on fried potatoes.
I have a question. What's single source?
Single origin.
Single origin.
So when you buy, good question. So like when you buy, let's say, ground garlic at the grocery store in, well, let me bring out my wax spices. Let's look at this private label, private selection turmeric.
I think you should blur
from
the,
Safety.
Blur the manufacturer.
Yeah, like that. So this turmeric is not necessarily responsibly sourced. Likely comes from farmers all over the world who have aggregated their spices through a distributor who grinds up all the spices into the spices that then go to grocery store shelves in the form of this. There isn't necessarily anything wrong with them. They're cheap, they're readily available, but you can't control the quality of them, and you don't necessarily know who they're coming from, who's making them, and whether they're being ethically and sustainably grown. So Burlap is one of the first companies that actually went all the way back to the very, very farmers who are growing all of the spices, figured out who's growing them, bought them directly from those farmers, and then sells them to people like us. So very excited to be using their paprika tonight. I turned this down, by the way, a second ago because I didn't want to like completely fry this oil before we even put the potatoes in. And we have a confused dog over here trying to figure out what the heck's going on. Beezy sighting. Okay.
We're back.
These don't need very long in here because they are actually already cooked. We're just trying to make them crispy. Medium heat, olive oil.
Oh, wow.
Those are going in. While those are cooking for a minute, let's stir up our chimichurri one more time and have one more taste. Have you ever had chimichurri before?
Me?
Yeah. Do you want to try it? You excited?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Big moves. Would you put that on your food?
Yes.
It's good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I love it. Huge. I like the vinegar and the oil together. Fun fact for the crew out there. Remember when we talked about salad dressing the week before last? And it was like 1 part vinegar or acid to 3 or 4 parts oil. That was kind of the magic ratio for the basis for most vinaigrettes and salad dressings. That's what this chimichurri is too, to a degree. It's 1 part oil, or 1 part vinegar, in this case white vinegar, to 3 parts olive oil, with a bunch of other good stuff in there, like the parsley, the garlic, the salt, the pepper, and the oregano.
So it's technically salad dressing.
It's kind of like a salad dressing. You could put this on salad.
Feels like
Little
putting
thick.
salad on my salad.
Salad on your salad could be good for you. I'm just gonna sit here and eat it though.
What kind of vinegar did you use?
I used white wine vinegar. Traditionally, I think chimichurri is actually made with red wine vinegar. I don't have red wine vinegar, and I can't go to the grocery store every day, as I'm assuming you guys can't either right now. My lady won't let me, and I don't want to sit in line for 4 hours. So, we are working with what we have. White wine vinegar works perfectly fine. These potatoes are starting to get a nice color. You can see it here. Oh, yeah. Starting to get a little crisp.
Nice.
These are going to be so good. And our steak is over there. I'm not quite ready to cut into it yet and see how well we did, but I am going to get a plate out so that we can plate this nicely for the people. What color? Purple plate tonight?
Purple.
Purple plate. Purple plate. I feel like we should have gotten a smaller one out, but that's okay. This one will work.
It's fine.
You can do it. We can do it nice. You can do it nice. May need your stylistic advice on this plating, as always. It's usually how it goes around here.
We are cooking brown food.
We are cooking brown food with red in it, but that's why we have some nice green to put on
true.
top.
That's
It's not going to be that brown. All right. I think in order to do this justice, I need to bring our steak back over here and cut it for all the people live.
We have a request to use a white plate, not a purple plate.
A white plate?
Yeah.
Who made that request?
Eva.
Oh, how come? 4K.
To show off the food.
Oh.
And then we have a request for a risotto night.
Oh, well, we have chicken stock now that we've made fresh, so maybe we can use that chicken stock to do a risotto. Sounds pretty good.
That sounds great.
Okay. So we have a white plate now, which has specks of
Why don't you
parsley
just get
on
a
it.
fresh white plate?
Well, because the other fresh white plates are massive. And this one will do. White plate, chimichurri, Beautiful potatoes. Basically done. Did I just spray myself? Probably. You know, it's just not a good night in the wall kitchen of cooking unless there's stuff gets everywhere. It's just not normal. Let's bring this back. Let's bring this back. Ooh.
I don't know.
That could have been bad.
Yeah.
Alright. See all those juices around the steak though? That's why we waited. Those are done. That's why we waited. So.
What's the cutting?
Moment of truth, guys. Moment of truth.
Yeah.
You can cut it however you want. I'm going to do some angles here so that I can like lay it out nicely. Like maybe fan it out, put some chimichurri on top, and then do some potatoes around the outside.
Wow.
We'll see how it goes. We don't know how it's going to work yet, but first cut is grizzly. Second cut, little grizzly. Third cut. Okay, it looks like we're more medium tonight than medium rare, but that's all right. We got distracted by potatoes. I bet it's still going to taste really good. It's good.
So you're going for like thin slices here?
I'm doing kind of thin slices. I'm doing like maybe 1/4 inch slices. Oh, these babies are good though. As we get towards the middle where it was a little thicker, I think we found the jackpot over here.
So why did this become medium?
So it's medium.
Sit for too long?
It's medium on the edges because I let it sit in the pan for too long basting. It was just too much heat for too long. But I actually think
the temperature thing. So you how would you have solved this? Would you have taken the temperature in different places?
No, I actually think that we did it exactly perfectly because if we hadn't cooked it as long as we did, the inside would be too rare. And I mean, I'm going to fan this out for everyone here. And I think that everyone's going to be really,
with the piece of meat that you've got.
Really impressed with the color here on the inside.
Is that gristle on the edge?
Oh, but it's so good. It's so tasty. All right, let's do a dollop of chimichurri on top, right there. And then let's do some potatoes around the outside. Aside from my mediocre plating, what do you think?
I think those potatoes look really delicious.
Are you excited for the potatoes?
The
More so than the steak?
Too,
but you don't want the gristle?
The gristle.
But,
really not
but
a
look
gristle.
at that.
Are you guys gristle fans?
I mean, look at that. Look at how it's just like just barely red.
Yeah, Sarah also does not like gristle.
Sarah's not into the gristle.
Yeah.
I think I knew that though. But man, this is an exciting dinner. I'm looking forward to this.
So would you eat that with more sauce?
I mean, I'm gonna just load chimichurri on top of this, but obviously we have to take a nice photo for the gram.
Right.
Before I can do that.
Right.
So maybe I should just put this one down over here for a second and then come back over here, take this end piece that's really ugly, but we weren't going to do anything with this anyway. Smother it in chimichurri, smother it, and just crush it for everyone.
Oh, I don't think I caught that, but it's on the side of your mouth though. So. Oh, okay. Wow.
You want one more?
No, I'm good, but the people.
Do people want to watch me eat?
I don't think people came here to watch you eat.
I mean,
if people came here to watch you cook.
If people want to watch me eat, that's cool. We could do one more. I'm happy with it.
Sarah says Betty wants. Sarah, you might be disappointed. Betty might not either.
Yeah, Betty's not food motivated.
No. Betty would probably eat the gristle.
That's a winner.
Okay.
I'm telling you guys, all this practice is working out because I'm not overcooking things. Things are tasting good. The potatoes are good. It's all good. We have chicken stock to do risotto. I don't know if that's going to be next week or if it's going to be some time, but we'll do it.
I would like risotto.
Questions before we end tonight? What else do you want to talk about? Anything? No? No.
John doesn't think Betty should have any sauce.
Betty should not have any sauce, no. That would be bad for us.
Eva also thinks the gristle needs to be cut off.
Oh gosh.
Does anyone here like gristle?
I will. You know what? Here's what we'll do. We're gonna cut off the gristle for the photo that goes up on Instagram, and then everyone who watches tonight, go comment on that and let us know whether or not you think it looks better than what you just saw. Deal? Okay. Deal.
Are we done?
I think so.
Okay, great.
Is there anything else people want to talk about?
Is there any cheese in this meal at all? No,
Oh my
Sarah.
gosh.
No,
Well,
there's no cheese.
Whoa. We should commemorate that though. This is the
No,
first.
that's not a good thing.
This is the first live stream we've ever done that doesn't have cheese in it. This is incredible.
There's something wrong with this.
I mean, we did.
Any meal with no cheese isn't a meal that I can get excited about.
I think.
And I know Sarah feels the same way.
Oh, when we did trout with rice,
I think you still put cheese on that, even though you shouldn't.
Not trout with rice.
Yeah, didn't you make like?
Did I do cheese someplace in there?
I think there
I
was
don't remember.
Cheese someplace in there.
I know I did.
Even though you shouldn't have.
Well, I did cheese with the fish, and another time there was scorn there, but no, there's no cheese here. No cheese needed.
I mean, yeah, there is butter, I guess.
There's lots of butter.
There's butter.
There's all the butters.
Something.
Cool.
Cheesy risotto.
Cheesy risotto is going to happen very soon. It needs to happen. There's too many people out there that demand it. But y'all got to stick with us for like 25 minutes because it's not the fastest meal in the world, and you're gonna sit here and watch me ladle and stir and ladle and stir and ladle, and I'm gonna have to come up with all sorts of things to talk about while we're doing it.
Fun facts.
I'm gonna have to come up with a lot of pro tips for risotto night. Core skills.
Should you kind of plug your core skills?
I could plug core skills.
Yeah.
Okay, so every week, if you're not on our email list already, please go to aviokitchen.com, scroll all the way to the bottom, sign up for our email list. Every week we do a new core skill. We teach you how to do it on YouTube. We show you the technique on Instagram, and it all builds to this live stream on Thursday nights. We're going to be doing this every Thursday now. This week's core skill was, of course, searing steak. We built up to searing this delicious ribeye. And next week, we are not sure what we're going to do yet, but we'll let you guys know. Yeah.
Keeping everyone on their toes.
Yeah, everyone's got to be kept on their toes a little bit.
So people can